taken care of, and then I fuck something up. There we go. Boom. There we go. And it looks like Game Boy is here as well. Looks like Vegan is here, so everybody's here on time after all. That is badass. All right. And there we go. All right. And is everybody working in the Video Ninja? Let's take a quick look. Beautiful. We just need a morally superior vegan to give us some sort of a cam feed. Doesn't matter if it's a stale picture or something like that, a VTube, anything you want, but give us some sort of a feed into the Video Ninja.
So real quick, I'm not expected to be seeing what your stream is on my side of Ninja, right? Because I just see me.
Correct. We were supposed to, but apparently I fucked up. I suck. So
okay, no, that's fine. So
I had it set up, I thought, but we'll get it better. All right, there we go. And now we've lost Game Boy's feed, but that's all right. He'll come back. He always does. All right, everybody. Yes, sir, I do. And then, yes, sir.
Just a reminder of the Twitch chats. I don't remember. I don't know exactly how to do that. But...
Yep, I understand. And I'm going to do that right now. Let's go ahead and Circa, are you live, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. And Jesus is anybody else live on Twitch? YouTube, Attorney? No, nothing. Are you live?
I am live.
You're live. All right. So I'm going to send. Oh, looks like somebody knocked. Okay. Well, actually, hang on, Circa. Yeah. No offense, this isn't a control thing, but it kind of is. I'm going to create it just because.
Okay.
If you leave or whatever, yeah, cancel yours. And that way, if you leave for some reason, it doesn't shit the bed. No, nothing.
Bro.
Attorney. There you go. Is it not? It's not letting you in, is it?
No, it is. It is.
Oh, okay, cool. And then who was the third one? Indian Jesus. The Indian Jesus.
How do you share chat again? There we go.
Yep. Send invite. Start sharing chat. There we go. So Jesus over Twitch dashboard, you should see notifications at the top next to the messages. Click that, and you should be able to click yes or accept or okay or fuck yeah, whatever it says.
Chief is saying that your mic is live only on the stream right now.
Yeah, only my mic is. Y'all weren't actually audible yet. Good call, Chief. Appreciate you. All right, so it looks like
I'm getting doubling. What am I doing?
Make sure and mute and deafen in the
there we go.
The little stream together box. All right, and nobody else is.
So I just clicked accept.
I don't know why my stream is frozen. It's fine in Discord, but it's frozen in the VOD Ninja.
So it is. That's all right. I can fix that. We will just refresh it. All right. And it looks like one of our judges has taken his leave. I'm sure he will be back. It's all right. He doesn't need to be here for this. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome in, everybody. Good evening, and welcome back to the Demilitarized Zone. This is the one stream designed to help you feel better about engaging in hot-button topics with people you disagree with. Our goal here is to teach discourse survival tactics, not just farm gotchas and dunks. We try our best to cultivate meaningful, intelligent conversation where you have to stop and listen to the other person, even if it is just to find the flaws in what they are saying. So please attack the belief, not the believer. At least for tonight, please check your weapons at the door, take notes, act like grown-ups, and refrain from the blood sports and shit-slinging that have plagued our society for far too long. Also, here, the audience gets a say. So there will be a link in the chat after each debate where you can vote for a winner. Please limber up those voting fingers because it is free, and let's exercise our democratic rights here to decide which side made the most compelling argument in each debate. We do keep track of the score, so hopefully hopefully Morally Superior Vegan's camera feed is going to come back to us, because if not, I'm going to just cry. We're going to go through the debates and the prompts, the debaters and the prompts, I'm sorry. And we are going to start with our first debate of the night, which is going to be: the U.S. government should eminent domain corporate-owned residential property for a new Fair Housing Act. That debate is going to be between, let's see, Know Nothing Attorney. Boom. Boom. Hey, thank you for that shout out there. And a new face to the DMZ, Ruckus. Boom, boom. There we go. Our second debate of the evening is going to be between Game Boy, an old hand here who doesn't stream except here in the DMZ, and Emmett, a face that we have seen here once before, but more importantly, we have seen in other channels doing the Lord's work. I just watched you on Speakeasy the other night and was once again impressed with you. And you can find Emmett right there. And then that debate is: the United States has lost the trust of the international community. And then our third and final debate tonight is actually going to be reusing a prompt from last week. And we're doing that because a lot of people felt that the debate could have gone on, and also because a lot of people felt that the execution of that particular debate left some things, some meat on the bone. So tonight we're going to have Morally Superior Vegan, longtime collaborator, but first time actually in the DMZ, and Circa, who of course is a regular face here in the DMZ, as well as on other people's channels as well. Now, we will give you guys all of their socials in the comments section of the VOD on YouTube. But for now, you should be able to click all of those links we just gave. Give everybody a like, subscribe, follow, whatever the appropriate thing on their platform of choice is. And stick around, because after the debates, all of us are going to get into it, and we're going to kind of go at each other and have a good old free for all. So with that said, the format of the actual debates: we go 3-minute time for the opening on the affirmative, followed by a 3-minute directed cross-examination by the negative. So in other words, it is their time to use to ask questions, to either poke holes in the arguments or to set up their own arguments for their opening. After that, they get 3 minutes on the clock where they get to go and give their opening arguments, which is followed by the affirmative getting to then cross-examine them for 3 minutes. After that second cross-examination, we go to an open conversation forum where we put 10 minutes on the clock. But if at the end of 10 minutes, you guys are still breaking new ground, still going at it, I'm just going to quietly add another 5 minutes to the debate. We start out at the 10 just in case you guys have already poked all the holes and the argument is already done. But that rarely happens. Usually we're going to go for that full 15 minutes. Now, in all of that time, audience chatters, there's going to be a link that is going to pop up regularly. For $2, you can donate a question and throw that question. Tell us who it is that you're asking that question of, and that question will go into the Q&A section for the debaters. Barring those questions, each of the two judges tonight are going to have one question for each of the two debaters, as will I. That will then be followed by 3-minute closings from each of the two debaters. After that, we go to the judges. And while the judges are rendering their verdicts, I'm going to drop a link into the chat, as I said before, where you guys are going to get to click and vote for who you thought made the most compelling arguments. Not just who's your favorite, not just who you like, and not just who you agree with. Who you think put on the best debate tonight. Okay? So I assume that nobody has any questions. If you do, go ahead and just DM them to me. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump straight into debate number 1. I'm sorry. I forgot to introduce my judges. So, first things first, average debate enjoyer. He was the winner of last season here in the DMZ. Although there is some controversy about that, and there are some people who are questioning the legitimacy of his championship, but he is always available, and he also has some socials we're going to go ahead and throw here into the chat for you guys. Where are you at? There you are. You know what? I didn't know you even had a Twitch account, dude. But we're just going to go ahead and give you guys his YouTube, because that's where he is usually found. Boom, boom, boom. And then on the other side of the judges table, we have none other than the Indian Jesus making his judging debut here. And really, it's because, man, I'm pretty sure he's basically undefeated here in the DMZ. So he is, may or may not be one of the people who questions the legitimacy of Tyler's championship. That said, you guys can find both of them, and they know the deal. They're going to judge the debates on a 10-point scale. They have a total of 10 points to give out to the two debaters. So in other words, it can be a 5-5, it can be a 10-0. And anywhere in between, which is also the way it's going to come down to the audience. So it's not a total score. The score is just for the rankings. It's going to be whoever gets 2 votes wins. Okay. And we do everything we can to avoid a tie, but sometimes they happen. It's only happened a couple of times, weirdly enough, twice to Tyler. So that said, we're now going to go ahead and roll back to our first debate of the night. The U.S. government should eminent domain corporate-owned residential property for a new Fair Housing Act. Let's say 3 minutes is on the clock. Know nothing, attorney. You have been here before, sir. You know how this game works. Start the clock when you start to talk. Give us your opening arguments.
All right. In light of the Supreme Court renewing Jim Crow on Wednesday, I think it's important that we take a look at discrimination and availability of housing in the housing market in America. The Fair Housing Act began by trying to address some of these discriminatory issues, and had very poor results doing so. But the commission that pushed for the Fair Housing Act identified multiple factors that were causing unrest in the housing market. And one of the major factors was poor housing supply. Before we address anything else, no one can make any headway if that is still an issue. If we want to address discriminatory housing, we have to address the poor housing supply. So if we just look at some of the statistics, 33% of single-family home purchases in Q2 of 2025 were by institutional investors. A whole third of single-family homes were bought by institutional investors. Institutional investors own over a fifth of single-family rentals in cities like Atlanta and Jacksonville. As far as availability, for every 100 low-income Americans, there are only 35 affordable homes they then have to buy up. And 75% of low-income Americans are paying over 50% of their income on rent. And now, 10% of all new home builds in 2024 and 2025 were built to rent, cutting ownership completely out of the equation from the beginning. We have brand new industries popping up to cut people out of owning homes in America. Additionally, these institutional investors have proven themselves time and time again to evict tenants at a much higher rate. So America helped create the situation where an industry that didn't exist before 2012 is threatening to sweep the largest generator of generational wealth in the country. America, therefore, has the authority and the duty to fix that. So my proposal is this. For institutional investors with some threshold, say 25 or 50 homes in their inventory, you create a 5 to 7 year deadline, hard stop, where the government then will eminent domain at fair market value less a fee for keeping houses off the market. And during that 5 to 7 year window, these institutional investors have the opportunity to sell at a higher rate, therefore proving the value is above what the government would pay for it. This will drive discovery of true cost of the homes, true price, true value, and it will push homes back into the market, solving this issue that is threatening to cut home ownership out of the question for good.
All right. So we're now going to go ahead and go straight to that cross-examination ruckus. Again, like I said, the way this works is this is your time to use as you see fit. Poke holes, set up arguments. Even if you want, you can just fucking monologue. It's your time. So you control this time as you see fit. I'll start the clock when you start to talk.
Yeah. You said 33% of were institutional investors and 1 out of 5. Is that right? 20% in some areas. Is it that was recent home purchases, or is that?
That's The 1 out of 5 is single family rentals, like full scale in that local market. They currently own.
Currently owned.
Yes.
Okay.
The more dangerous one, I think, is the 33% of new like incoming sales are being taken over by institutional investors, and it's
Yeah, I'd be
growing every
interested to
quarter.
see.
I don't know about
I'd
every
be
quarter,
interested
but
to see.
Q1
Yeah,
over
you're fine.
Q2 last year went from 30% to 33.
I'd be interested to see where you got that data because that's not the data that I got. But we can discuss that as things go on. I am happy that you acknowledged that the thing with housing, the issue right now is actually around poor housing supply, and that seems to be the one of the biggest drivers of prices going up right now. Not necessarily corporations. Um, So I want to understand your perspective on what you're trying to accomplish with this. What is the stated goal? Is it just to address the affordability crisis and accessible home ownership? Is that basically the gist?
The stated goal is to create an interrupter in the capture pipeline where the institutional investors are taking over all new opportunities to buy homes, giving opportunities to buy
What's the
homes back
problem
to
you're trying to
Americans.
solve? Are you just trying to cut corporations out completely, or are you actually trying to make homes more affordable?
No, under this proposal, investors would still be able to get have a midterm investment rather than a long term investment. So over 5 to 7 years, they could turn a profit on these homes, but they can't
That's not
hoard
what the proposal
houses.
says. The proposal says eminent domain. So you're going to be seizing private property and redistributing it
The
through the
federal
Fair
government
Housing
under this
Act,
plan
wherein you
would be eminent domaining properties as the end stop, like the hard stop at the end of the time period. And those eminent domains would drive the motivation for the institutional investors to actually sell those homes at higher prices than the government would pay.
So is it not necessarily using eminent domain, but threatening eminent domain if they don't sell it?
I mean, that would assume that 100% of the properties would be sold by the investors. I doubt that would be possible, and the eminent domain would be a reality that was taking place to drive those sales.
Setting them up to fail, essentially. You're going to say, you got 5 to 7 years to sell this property, and if you don't, and we know you can't, we're going to seize your property and redistribute it.
Well, if you're not generating value, then why is it being kept off the market for Americans to buy?
Is a rental property not value? Is that not generating value for somebody?
It's generating value, but it is increasingly turning capital over to the institutional investors so that they can buy more houses out from under Americans who would be like new home owners, new families, first-time home buyers. No opportunities to buy homes from the beginning.
So that's
Okay.
time. So real quick, one thing that I did forget to mention, if you guys have a question about somebody's sources, or if you want to call in to question someone's sources, we are set up to be able to fact check people in real time. Say the word and we will stop the clock and we will fact check a reference or a source. Each of y'all gets two. We've been toying with different names, but let's call it a ceasefire. So you can call for a ceasefire. We can fact check your information and see what's what, which I did just pull up for the viewers, at least the top source that I was able to find. Anyhow, just wanted to put that in there and let everybody know. So we're going to go ahead and go over to 3 minutes on the clock for you now, Ruckus. This is your uninterrupted time to open, sir. Go ahead when you're ready.
Yeah, sure. With respect to the ceasefire, I think we probably will get to that here in a moment. But
Fair.
with regard to the institutional investors and these large corporations, I think it's important to point out, based on my own research, they only make up anywhere from 1 to 3% of single-family homes nationally, as far as ownership is concerned. And even in concentrated metro areas, they're still a minority share of the total housing stock that's available. You know. If the intention here was simply to address the growing affordability crisis and to increase home ownership, simply removing large corporate ownership from the equation will have little to no impact, even in the most impacted areas for corporate ownership. If we really wanted to address the issue, I think we should be looking at things that actually drive the inflated cost of homes. Those would be zoning and land use constraints, basic infrastructure, geography limits, actually the interest rates that actually determine mortgages, numerous administrative delays with regard to permitting and other sorts of red tape, and of course the material costs themselves. All of these rank higher in terms of impact to home pricing. To simplify it, the issue of housing affordability isn't the issue of corporations owning residential properties. It's a supply chain problem, and more specifically, a lack of housing availability. whose primary causes are more closely related to government intervention in the market, not too dissimilar to what you're advocating here. But this isn't just a theory either. This has been demonstrated time and time again. One clear example of this current situation is between San Francisco and Houston. It's currently estimated that the median home in Houston and San Francisco are $80,000 and $150,000 respectively. That's the median income. The estimated income needed to afford a home in those areas is $90,000 and $400,000 respectively. To clarify what I just said, that's a gap in Houston of around $10,000 off the median income and a gap of around $250,000 in San Francisco. In Houston, the gap is somewhat manageable, but in San Francisco, you're basically screwed. And the key difference here is the zoning regulations and the ability to build more houses. In Houston, you can pretty much build wherever you want, whatever you want. In San Francisco, you're heavily restricted on what you can build, where you can build, all of the permitting and environmental reviews and everything else that San Francisco imposes on their builders. So where do corporations fit in here? Well, that's actually the best part of this example. The estimations that I was able to find said that corporate institutional investments were somewhere between 0.5 and 2% in San Francisco, whereas in Houston, they're closer to 2 to 4%. So even in an area where you have almost double the corporate representation that you're looking to target with this sort of action, home prices are significantly more affordable, and even after accounting for income and other disparities. So all that's to say nothing about the implementation of this program, who would qualify, what just compensation might look like, or what other political hoops we might have to jump through before this solution is actually implemented. I agree with the intention. Housing is quickly becoming more and more unaffordable, but the solution here isn't to create dangerous precedents or through forcible seizures on private property and political redistribution of currently existing assets. The real solution here is to allow more houses to be built, thus increasing supply and meeting demand so that prices can come down more quickly and naturally. Bottom line, if you want cheaper housing, build more houses. Don't confiscate them. Thank you.
All right. As I'm sure you noticed there, whenever you go past on the time, I'm going to let you finish your thought. I'm not going to talk across you unless you go for a really long time. But the judges do generally pay attention to who does and does not stay on time because it is kind of part of the deal. But again, no criticisms. All right. So going back to this now, attorney, this is your turn. 3 minutes on the clock for cross-examination. Use it as you see fit, sir.
All right, I think we can settle the ceasefire with the intent of the statistic with this question. Do you disagree that a larger and larger share of home sales each year are being done by, or the purchases are being made by institutional investors?
I don't disagree that it's increasing. I think it's a profitable investment and people are finding that out. I just disagree with the scale or the effective of it.
And do you see any effective means in place to limit the number of purchases they make?
I don't see why we need to limit the number of purchases that they make.
And is there anything in place that would incentivize them to, rather than rent properties that they no longer want to hold for investment, to sell those to American home buyers?
I think they're going to do whatever the market dictates. If people are willing to rent houses and they're willing to do it at a price that these companies can make a profit, they're just going to keep doing it. If people suddenly have more money to spend, or building houses becomes more affordable, it's already more desirable that people want to own houses. I'll grant you that, but they just can't afford them, and there's other reasons why they can't afford them. So right now they're providing that solution in the market by providing the rental houses. If we can bring down the cost of those houses, maybe there'd be more people who are not only willing but eligible to buy those houses. I think that's where you solve the problem. And once you create that market incentive and there's actually viable purchasers there, that'll solve that problem.
And do you think renting doesn't generate generational wealth, right?
Renting doesn't generate generational wealth? No, but I don't know. Just because you own a house doesn't mean you're wealthy either.
No, but in most cases, property increases in value over time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I would definitely grant you that people who own and pay off their house or definitely have more to pass on to their children than people who rent. But there's also other benefits to renting that you don't get with home ownership, and there's a lot more risks with owning a home than there is from renting a home.
Sure. But in the case of if you're renting a home, who gets the benefit of the accretion in wealth over time?
The person who owns the home, but the tenant also gets many other benefits too. They're more mobile. They don't have to worry about maintenance costs, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure, and then the accretion of value over time would make that homeowner, the landlord, more likely to be able to afford additional homes. Correct?
Sure. Yeah, and you can
So
find a
for every
rental
time that
place
we're
in-
increasing the supply of homes, these institutional investors are going to be buying more and more of the additional supply we're adding, right?
True, but you're also going to be selling more and more homes to individual home buyers. They make up a majority of the market right now, and there's no reason to think that they won't continue to do so.
And do you think we need to build additional homes to make up for the additional homes that the institutional sellers are buying to allow more homeowners to buy them?
Yeah, we have a massive housing shortage right now. We need to build as many homes as possible.
Go ahead and take that question straight into the next part. We're just going to go ahead and leave the 10 minutes on the clock. Start it up when you guys are ready. Go ahead.
Well, I think
Yeah,
I made
I mean,
it clear by
keep
my
going.
questions that like my greater concern, right? Like I do hope to address pricing, how expensive homes are, how affordable they are, but just the availability of homes for homeowners to buy when they want to buy them is becoming increasingly threatened over time.
Yeah, I think you're saying the same thing there. It's the supply of homes that's the real issue. It's not these these companies owning the homes.
Right.
There's just not enough homes around.
And so
I
for
think
each
we're
of
on
your
the same page
solutions to
there.
supply, I wouldn't disagree with them, but I also think the increasing hoarding of homes by these institutional investors is a increasing threat over time. And I think that like this industry didn't even exist before 2012, before Blackstone like got a what was it, $1 billion loan from the federal government.
Yeah, they shouldn't be subsidizing builders. I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, but now it's too late. We now have an industry where these investors are owning greater and greater shares of the new homes being sold.
Yeah, I just don't see how the use of eminent domain or threatening the use of eminent domain will increase the supply of housing. That's the part where I think we have a disconnect.
So if the government, where's my statistic here? We got 3.3 million, or I'll just say 3 million homes approximately that are being kept off the market, just warehoused.
Kept off the market in what way? They're just sitting there, or are people renting them?
I mean, just sitting there is, I think, 14 million homes. Doing three is the
3
estimate of
million.
ones that are completely vacant. Vacant and unused.
I wonder why they're sitting there. I'd like to know why they're sitting there. Is it because they can't find anybody to rent them, or are they just not interested in renting them?
As I understand it, in many cases they're holding them for value, but
so that they can sell them, which is what you want them to do anyway.
But currently they're a long-term financial asset, which is not what homes are intended to be.
Mm-hmm. What you just said is for building generational wealth. How's it not for a long-term wealth building asset?
Corporate financial asset, long-term corporate asset.
Why is it not it's a commodity just like anything else? Why wouldn't
is
that
it
be
though?
allowed?
People need homes to live? They don't.
There's tons of homeless people in California that disagree with you. No, you definitely.
I mean, they have homes.
Yeah.
They're just unhoused.
No. Yeah. Now, everybody wants a home, and I agree with that. I just think that the solution here, the easier solution here, is just to make building homes more affordable. Like I used California. There was an example recently. I can't remember which famous rock star it was. I'm not a pop culture guy, but there was one of these guys went to California and decided he was going to build a bunch of tiny homes for all the homeless people in California, and that was shut down by the California government because they required them to have all these extra amenities. So this charitable project that he was putting together to build all these tiny homes, he had to turn away from it because they were saying things like, oh, well, it's got to have, AC, it's got to have a parking spot, it's got to have a washer and dryer, it's got to have this, that, the other thing, all these regulations and red tape that came along with it that basically destroyed the program. So you have instances like that where people are trying to help out as best they can, come up with these affordable housing solutions. And then that's a whole nother subject as well, as all of the quote unquote affordable housing projects that all these different localities put together have all these extra restrictions and things you have to do and things you can't do that just put more limitations and incur more costs on the builders that make housing more expensive. And that's why you get people pushed into rental agreements, even though they really don't want them. They really want to own a house. They can't own a house because the cost of building a house is so prohibitive.
I don't see how we get away from making it more affordable, makes it just more easy to buy for institutional investors. And if there's a family of 3 first-time home buyers
Mhm.
versus an institutional investor, if they're going in on the same house against each other, I know which one's going to win. It doesn't matter how affordable the
Not
house is in that
necessarily.
case.
Not necessarily, because
Not
I don't know
not
if you,
necessarily, but and in how many cases out of how many?
I mean, this house that I'm in right now, I won in a bidding war with 7 different people, and one of them was a developer that wanted to buy this land, bulldoze the house, and build a trailer park on it. So you can win it. And
No,
there's
it's
really,
possible
it
to win
comes,
it, but in how many cases do like families have the like capital power that an institutional investor has?
it depends. I mean, it really depends on the market and the situation. I would argue that it's probably happens a lot less than you think it does. Because the way you're portraying it, it seems like it would just like every time a corporation wants to get involved, you know, the homeowner or the single family just loses. And I don't think that's the case, because you have market forces that dictate what the house is worth. If you want to buy a house for an investment property, there's higher regulations and requirements. If you're a first time home buyer, you've only got to put down 3.5%. If you're a corporation or if you're an individual that wants to buy a second home for investing, you have to put down 20%. I know, because this is what I used to do.
Well,
It costs a lot more
clarify,
money to get
it's not
involved.
necessarily about who wins and who loses in each case, but it's about who has the institutional purchasing power that they need at any one time. Like if an institutional investor
Sure.
loses, it's not because they don't have the resources available to buy the home. In most cases, these have a ton of like weight behind their punches when it comes to the amount that they could invest in a home if they chose to. Now, as
Yeah,
far
but they're
as
not going to,
how we
because
make
the
homes
market's gonna
available
dictate
with
that price. Yeah.
what's that?
Is they're not going to, because the market's going to dictate that price. If I'm going to buy a house for an investment purpose and I intend to rent that house out, or even if I want to hold it for a long period of time, there is a limit to how much money I'm going to spend on that house. Now, a family looking at that house might be looking at it as a forever home, not necessarily an investment where spreadsheets and numbers and all this really matter too much. The question is, can they afford it, and will they be able to afford it long enough to pay it off and raise their family there? Some of those things have more value than an investor might look at it and say, oh, if I buy this house, it's going to have X, Y, Z in
I
costs,
think
and
we're
I need
just
to make
skirting
this much
around
margin.
the fact that if an
Okay.
institutional investor wants the home, in most cases
Yeah.
they will get it if they want it.
If they want it bad enough, I agree with you. They
Yeah,
have more money.
if a family wants it bad enough, what are they fucking gonna do?
Get a
As
good
far as
loan.
making homes
I don't know.
available with my plan, as you asked, once the government purchases these properties, if they are not sold on the market at a higher price, which is apparently the home's actual value, then the government could potentially sell them to community land trusts that can then manage those properties locally, so that they are not in the hands of the federal government. The federal government will not be managing these properties; they will just be earning what they have spent.
Yeah, I there's a whole list of things with that we just don't have time to get into. I think it's going to face a lot of legal challenges, and it's going to have to jump through a lot of hoops, and deciding, like I said, who's qualified, who gets access to
Right, but the
it, who
question is
doesn't.
should, not what are the legal
No,
challenges
and
here?
my answer is should not.
Okay, right, but when you say
I
legal
yeah,
challenges,
yeah.
America should do FDR's economic Bill of Rights, and in that case, we would have a lot of punching power when it came to like passing laws to make homes more affordable and manage the sale of those homes.
My counter to that is, if you want to make homes more affordable, you need to get government out of the way and let people who own property do what they want to do with it and build what they want to build on it, and the market will provide.
Well, I mean,
That's
as
my
far as
solution
making
there.
it I mean, we're not making it we're not making it less affordable by getting the government involved, because they have a floor, or I guess the floor is the investor's floor. It's the ceiling for the federal
Do you
government,
think?
which would be FMV minus some fee on top of it.
Let me ask you this: if the government were to utilize eminent domain in the way you're talking about for a new Fair Housing Act, do you think that would increase or decrease the supply of housing, future supply of housing?
The future supply of housing, well, I think it would over the long term
The
increase
rate, I guess. Yeah.
well, it depends. Like I mentioned,
What I'm asking
from
you,
24
what
to
I'm asking you is
25,
yeah,
10% of the new built homes were built to rent. So how much more is that
built
going to
by who?
increase? They're
Built by who?
built by institutional investors
Do you
to
think
rent.
do you think those institutional investors will be incentivized to build those houses if they know that the government is going to seize them 5 or 7 years down the road?
No, definitely not rental properties. But
So you're
like
talking
the
about
point is to remove this as a
you're
long-term
talking about
corporate asset to
eliminating.
begin with. It should never have been that.
We agree that the issue is the supply of housing, and what you just said is that you expect that these institutional investors are providing for 10% of the new rental homes that are being built, and they will be disincentivized from doing that in the future moving forward if we threaten to use eminent domain on them should they build them. So
How
I
did
don't
we
see how
survive in
you're going to make up
2005? It's a mystery.
one day at a time.
Yeah. I mean, this
Yeah.
didn't. This isn't a critical mass where everything fails if we get rid of it, because it didn't exist before the 2008 financial crisis. Like, this is new and we don't need
Well,
it,
just
and
in the
it's
same way,
damaging us.
I don't know that we don't need it. I think it should be allowed, and if it weren't needed or it weren't valuable, then people wouldn't do it.
So we're talking about like institutional investors, right? We're talking about accumulating capital that is increasing over time, so as they can buy more houses, they can buy a greater share of the market. How long is it going to be before they are the majority share of the houses bought every year? At that point, how much control do they have over how much you have to pay in rent? Like, if they own 33, if one company owns 33% of the houses in the local area for rent, then they have a massive amount of rent control. So I don't know how this stays affordable at all.
I don't know that if the issue is time preference now, I don't know how creating, like, this is the legal trouble that I was talking about before. Like, they're going to run into questions of if this is even constitutional to seize private property from one group to redistribute it to another. That's going to create a whole bunch of hurdles. And then you have all of the political hurdles.
I mean, that's already a thing. That's law.
I know it's already a thing, but that's my point though, is what I'm talking about is removing the barriers to entry, and you're talking about increasing them. And if we're going to talk about time preference and which one is going to have a greater effect more quickly,
wait, you're talking about lowering whose barriers to entry? Whose barriers to entry are we talking about?
Builders building new homes,
right? And then the people who get to buy that are who? You're totally cutting out the part where somebody has to buy the home.
I'm not cutting it out at all. I'm saying that if there's a greater supply of homes available, then the price will come down. Because right now the issue is scarcity. There's not enough homes to go around.
For the buyer, what about the renter?
As much as they can. What about the renter? There's going to be more houses. You can rent more houses.
When the price goes down and the institutional investor, the landlord, buys the cheaper home, they then soak up all of the property more and more and more. And then they get to increase the rent because they have control of the housing market. So then the renter starts paying more.
They get to increase the rent as far as the market will bear. Do you think that if there are more houses available to rent, then that's suddenly going to make prices go higher somehow?
Sorry?
If you have a situation in a city, right? The current situation right now, there's few homes available and they're owned by these corporations. There's tons of people that want to rent those homes. The prices are elevated. Do you think in a situation where we have more houses available to rent, that those prices are somehow going to go higher or lower or stay the same?
I think when the number of houses is in fewer hands, you run the risk of prices going higher.
It doesn't matter. It actually doesn't matter who's holding the houses. It matters how many houses are available, and then the market will set the rate for what that house is worth. If you have tons of houses available and few people to rent them, the prices are going to be really low to attract those few people that want to move into those houses.
That requires a robust, healthy market with people on both sides. It requires supply and demand. And
welcome to America.
Yeah, but if you have a bunch of demand and you have only a few people who are providing the supply, that is a risk to the demanders.
I agree with you. We should open up the number of suppliers. We should make it easier. This is what I was talking about, lowering the barriers to entry to build more houses.
Which are just going to get bought by the institutional investors. You keep adding more houses, they just keep buying more as long as it's like profitable to do so.
Yeah, and there's no problem with that. The more houses that are on the market, the cheaper the rents and mortgages will be.
I mean, I think there's a massive problem with Americans not generating generational wealth. Like that was what the backbone of the country was built on the GI Bill, and the mortgages that were given out. I would take a moment to pause and say, in a very Jim Crow way, but the mortgages that were given out generated massive generational wealth from the 1940s on.
I agree with you that creating generational wealth is an issue right now. I just think that we disagree on what's creating that problem, and maybe we'll end up on separate sides of the third debate tonight. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think I got the stuff that I wanted out. I don't know if
Yeah,
there
I'm
was
good to go to
another
closings.
clarifying question you had. Yeah, all right, deal.
All right. Very cool. Well, then in that case, good job, gentlemen. Enjoyed that. We are going to go ahead and actually go to the Q&A section, though. Remember, chatters, if you click that link that keeps popping up, you throw $2 in the tip jar. You guys can ask a question to the debaters as well. Just tell us who it is the question is directed at and what the question is. That said, I actually get to go first. That's one of the few perks to the job. So we're going to start with the AF here. Again, to both of my judges, I'm sure you guys know, try to form one good question for each of the debaters, please. And as I said at the beginning, do our best to keep which direction we're leaning in the debate as hidden as possible. So, I'm sorry, let me rephrase or okay, so in your arguments, Know Nothing, you are saying that eminent domain would require the government to pay a fair market price for the homes that they are taking from the corporations. My question would be, you also, I believe you proposed, and if I'm putting words in your mouth, I apologize, please correct me, but I believe you proposed that the mandate would require for the corporation to offer them up for sale in the open market first, and if they don't sell, then the government will purchase them. That was what you were saying, correct?
Yes, I would say that
All right, cool.
that helps prove the value of the home.
All right. So my question to you then is, if all of this happens and those houses don't sell, because for whatever reason, the people can't buy them, people don't want them, et cetera, what does the government then do with all of these houses that they bought at fair market value, but are not being sold? And also, how do you propose the government funds that investment? Because it would at least temporarily be an investment until those houses sold or sell. Go ahead and start when you're ready.
Well, as far as getting like an initial like cash flow to buy some of these houses, I mean, I think the cost of this would far be exceeded by the tax cuts done by the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, and I think reversing some of that would generate more revenue that could be used to purchase these homes, and then a lot of it would be self-funding, and then the federal government could just keep dropping the price and then eating the cost if they have to. But generally, I'd imagine it would be joint projects between the federal government and local nonprofit entities like community land trusts to get those homes back in the hands of family purchasers, occupiers.
All right, good stuff. Now we're going to go to my judges. Average debate enjoyer. We're going to go from left to right as much as possible. Do you have a question ready for Know Nothing? All right, go ahead and shoot it at him, buddy.
All right, so I'm going to also ask a couple quick clarifications to recap some things before I hit you with my question. Your argument here seems to be that corporations are building, you said 20% of the new houses that were built were not intended to be sold, but rented or used for investment, right?
10% in 24 to 25.
Yeah. And I think you did give some anecdotes about cities having like a 20% density, but generally you guys agreed that corporations only own about 1 to 3 of the percent of the houses on the entire housing market, right?
Yeah, I agree. Of the existing stock, they own very little.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I got those two things right before I answer my question. So my question for you seems like a lot of your argument is punishing people. When we see punishments, new taxes, and things of that nature, it disincentivizes things. So this small group is building 3% is building 20% of the homes, massively bigger of a per capita for home building. So why not encourage first-time home buyers with incentives, like increase the first-time home buyer incentives we already have, instead of punishing the people building significantly more homes? Don't you think you get more homes that way?
Well, I think that takes the opportunities out of people, out of the hands of people who are not first-time home buyers. Over many decades, it is not just first-time home buyers that are buying homes. People should have the opportunities to move, own multiple properties, etc. I'm not discounting the possibility that people would own multiple properties. I'm talking about large-scale investors, people with maybe a threshold of like 25 or 50 or even more, because like Blackstone has 350,000 properties. get me back on track with the rest of your question when I answer it. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Seems like you're punishing people, disincentivizing from building new homes. You're going after a group that's building higher per capita in homes significantly from their population size. So wouldn't increasing first-time home buyer incentives build that generational wealth you're talking about in a better way while more homes are still being built?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm definitely in favor of incentivizing first-time home buying, but I also don't think this is a punishment. It is making sure that the home is being assessed at its actual values, it's being sold, it's actually being circulated, it's in circulation. I wouldn't even be opposed to incentivizing investment in these midterm assets rather than as long-term assets that are being held. They just need to go back into the hands of American like small investors or home buyers.
Now, Jesus, it's on you, sir. Do you have a question ready for Know Nothing?
Yeah. So I actually, it's more of just, can you lay out your thesis in, a concise way of how having more government in this situation creates more affordable housing?
I mean, I would actually, well, again, my focus is more on housing supply than it is on affordable housing. I think that'll eventually come as part of the solution down the line, but I think you got to address the supply problem, because if it keeps getting bought up, then the Americans aren't ones generating the wealth. It's just these investors. But I would also say that this isn't a like large continued involvement of the government. They are just coming in as a interruption of the capture pipeline. They are taking it from these investors that tend to warehouse these properties, and then preferably putting it back in like local hands that are trying to get those houses to the people that they know, their local communities, through community land trusts.
Fair enough.
Right. Did he answered your question, right?
Yep.
All right, cool. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and kick this over to you, Mr. Ruckus. Your turn. Question from each of us. I will start once again. One of your arguments that you made was that the prompt as it is written would lead to less motivation for these corporations to build their houses or build new properties. You also, however, said that you believed that building more houses would lower the cost of the houses, that it was a supply issue. So explain to me, if you would, at what point the tipping point is where corporations building houses makes the price come down and then stops being profitable, making them stop building new houses. Did I ask the question correctly? Let me try.
I
Let
don't know.
me
Yeah.
stab that again.
Yeah, let's just talk. Yeah. What?
If creating new houses
Mhm.
lowers the cost, but the motivation for building the new houses is the profitability to the corporations, why would the corporations continue building new houses? There you go.
They'll do it as long as it makes sense in the market. As long as it makes, as long as they can make a profit or whatever margin they're looking for in it. The goal here with this intended proposal is to make it more affordable for single families or families to own single family homes. That's the intended goal here. So by building more houses, we're lowering the cost of building those houses, or we're lowering the cost of houses. And so I think like that's where you're going to find your solution. Basically what you're asking me is, at what point is there market saturation and it's no longer profitable to build these houses and rent them out? I can't answer that question. The market will answer that question. But right now we have a severe deficiency in the number of houses available. So the more people we can get building houses, the easier we can make it to build houses. I think that's where we're going to find the solution. Whenever the institutions decide that there's enough houses on the market and they don't need to build anymore, then we don't have this problem and it doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. Average debate enjoyer, your turn. Please, a question for Mr. Ruckus.
Okay, so your main argument that you've made generally, well, two. You've got an economic argument and you've got the argument I'm going to address with my question. So the argument I'm going to address with my question is the argument about regulations, the argument about housing costing more, and I think you used San Francisco and somewhere in Ohio or Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken.
Houston.
Houston, my bad. Oh yeah, Houston. Yeah, that's a good example. City is close to me. So yeah, you compare these two. You compare. So I kind of want to ask you a question about these regulations. Generally, under the 10th Amendment, these local things are settled at the state and local level, and that's basically up to the will of the voters. So,
Right.
would you personally want a prison built next to your child's school?
Would I personally want a prison built next to my child's school? No, but I would go argue that locally. That's not a problem for the federal government to
That's
solve.
what the zoning
Yeah.
laws are that you're saying
I
drive up
understand
the
that.
cost. So that's my point. Is do you see the value in these zoning laws? That was more of the meme of the question. The actual question is, do you see the
Yeah.
value in these zoning laws? Understand why they are there,
I
and are you kind of representing them poorly right now? Is my question.
Reset the timer for you.
it,
Go ahead.
no, it's fine. Do I see the value in zoning laws from the local perspective? Yeah. I mean, if, like you said, if somebody doesn't want to build a prison next to a school and the local community is against that for some reason, then they can go ahead and do that. The issue I have with zoning regulation is in the example with San Francisco and Houston. One of the zoning regulations that comes into play there is verticality and density. So they don't want you to build houses too close together. They don't want you to build houses too tall and all of those sorts of things. That's the problem in San Francisco. In Houston, it's not so much an issue.
Fuck! I wish I
don't
had
know
a
what-
follow up.
Save
I
it
don't
for
know
the
why
after party.
you're like
Save it for
freaking
the
out.
after
I don't
party.
know. I don't know what
You
I
just-
said.
No,
Okay.
it's not good or bad. I just wish I had a follow up, man. I wish I could debate.
That's
you.
exactly
Sorry.
where I
Write
was.
it. Write it down. Save it for the after party.
Yeah,
All right,
that's
Jesus,
what
your
I'm doing.
turn. Ask his follow up for him.
All right, mind melt.
Let's
No,
go.
so the question is, why wouldn't more houses, if it's a supply issue, just mean more institutional investors?
I don't know that it wouldn't mean more institutional investors. I don't see the institutional investors as an inherent evil. I think they're providing a market service right now. They're providing houses for people to rent and in some cases houses for people to buy. Like an anecdotal example that I'll use is the last house that I lived in was a build to rent community, but a lot of the houses were for sale as well. So it was a mixture. There were some people that were renting and some people that owned the houses, but the houses themselves were built by an institutional I just lost the word for it, a corporate investor, if you will. Somebody financed that whole thing with the intention of renting and selling those houses. It wasn't individuals doing it. It was a large corporation that built this suburb community. So I don't really see that as a negative. This whole, not you particularly or anyone in particular, but this whole conversation seems to be like corporations owning houses is bad. I know that people want to own houses individually, but I don't see it as a net negative that corporations own houses. I see it as a net positive. They're providing a service into the market and giving people places to live.
Word up.
All right. So we actually got a question coming in from the chat, and it doesn't specify who this question is directed at. So I'm going to give both of y'all the chance to answer it. Although
No,
I'm pretty
go
sure I
first.
know what No Nothing's answer is going to be on this. So I'm going to ask the question again. Should eminent domain be used on houses owned by foreign actors controlling our markets? So specifically, again, you think it should be all corporations, but do you think that we should start with or focus on foreign investments and foreign corporations?
No, I don't see any particular
Yeah.
reason to do so. I mean,
We're in agreement.
specific. If we're talking about specific foreign actors, then maybe. But just foreign actors in general, no.
Okay. And the same question is going to go over to you now, Ruckus. Would you agree with the idea? I know you're against general eminent domain usage for this
Yeah.
purpose, but if it was specifically targeting foreign corporations and outside entities, would you then support it?
No, I'm a free market guy. I think anybody that wants to participate should be allowed to. Yeah, it's fine.
All right. Cheers. All right. Well, then in that case, we're going to go ahead and put 3 minutes on the clock for each of you. Again, this is your opportunity to close. Chatters, just remember that I'm going to be, after their closings, I'm going to be putting that link in. So get your voting fingers ready. No, nothing. 3 minutes is going on the clock for your closing first, sir. Go ahead and start the clock whenever you start to talk.
All right. First off, I just want to make it clear that we're talking about a long-term solution for a long-term problem. And if we're talking about affordability, there are definitely other solutions that make more of an imminent impact to impact to affordability. But we're talking about if this doesn't get implemented now, if we don't do something now to address these institutional investors that are buying up all these homes, that is going to pose a large cost problem for Americans in the future. And then we'll be going, why didn't we head this off in the first place? It's not something that should have ever started, and we should get rid of it now. As far as ending the incentive to buy homes, I don't see a problem. I don't see like anything preventing us from decoupling the incentive to build homes and the incentive to hold homes or to warehouse homes. You can incentivize building homes and still have the possibility of like them being able to only turn a profit on it for 5 to 7 years before they have to remove it from their inventory. And then just on the zoning point, I think we're running into a bit of a problem here. If we're going to loosen zoning laws and we're only going to be solving the problem with like, not that this was Ruckus's particular solution, but further incentivizing first-time home buyers. Well, if there's no incentive to buy a second or third home, well, suddenly you find yourself in a lot of problems when the zoning laws are loosened and you want to move. So you're going to start running into problems that are created by the solutions. But in general, we are running into we're seeing an accelerating problem, and it is accelerating at a scary rate. When it comes to whether or not it's a problem for corporations to be owning these homes, it's a matter of who's generating the wealth in America. Do we want our families to be generating wealth so that more Americans have more opportunities and they bring a greater benefit to America as a whole? Or do we want that wealth to be generated by institutional investors? That's where it's a problem for institutional investors to be the ones holding all the value here. But in general, I think there are multiple ways that this could be done to be an effective solution and keep the federal government's hands off of it to the greatest degree possible. All they have to do is interrupt the permanent or long-term holding of properties out of the hands of people who would be buying them. And then you can get them back into local communities, and it's largely small cost. It may be a large startup cost, but after that, it'll be just generating its own revenue for further purchases. So I think it's a obvious solution. Thank you.
All right. Going to go ahead and go over to you now. Same 3 minutes is on the clock, Mr. Ruckus. 3 minutes to close. Go ahead and put a cherry on top, sir.
Can you hear me all right, first off? Because
We can hear you great.
Okay, I was having a connection issue, so I want to make sure it's good. Because of that, I missed the second half of his closing statement, so I'll just kind of address the point generally. At the end of this debate, the question is not whether housing affordability is a problem. I think we both agree that it clearly is. The question is whether or not the plan proposed actually solves it in a way that's effective and sustainable. My opponent asks us to accept a policy that fundamentally expands government power to seize private property from corporate owners under eminent domain. Under the Fifth Amendment, I think this is going to face significant challenges, and where it was originally intended that property can only be taken for legitimate public use with just compensation. This is not necessarily for public use. It's more about redistributing from people who we don't think should own it to people who we prefer would own it. The burden is not just legality, but whether or not it actually solves the problem of the shortage of housing supply, or it merely reshuffles ownership while creating new legal and economic uncertainty. The evidence shows that housing scarcity is driven primarily by zoning restrictions, permitting delays, and constrained supply, not simply who owns the housing stock. So removing corporate ownership does not automatically produce more housing. In fact, disrupting the investment capital often reduces new construction, slows development, and ultimately will worsen affordability. Even if we agree and the intent is fairness, good intentions do not always equal good outcomes. The policy must be judged on the results and not the rhetoric. And here, the result is clear. This plan does not address the root cause of the crisis. And if anything, it risks making the crisis a lot worse. For those reasons, I'm against it.
All right. Good stuff. All right, gentlemen. So, as I have said a couple of times, I'm going to go ahead and drop a link here into the chat. It should go across to all of the shared chats. Everybody who is in the Discord channel, if you look into the side chat of the Discord, for those of you who are over there on YouTube as well, I put the link to the poll, so you guys can go ahead and put that into your chatters as well. And I'm going to also go ahead and drop it over here into my Kick and my YouTube stream. Anybody ever wants to show me how it is to make all of those chats go across and talk to each other, please fucking let me know, because that would be awesome. With that said, while you guys are voting, I'm going to kick this over to the judges. So one more time, Tyler, the average debate enjoyer, I'm going to go ahead and ask for your judgment first, if you are ready, sir. Where did you land on this? Let us know.
All right, so both openings, closings, and cross were all fine. I think Ruckus took a slight W in this because he's more concise. Ruckus, you're very good at building your stepping stones. You started A. I always know where you're going from A to B to C and Y. Whereas Attorney, your argument was kind of like X thing is happening and we need to do Y, a very extreme thing, because it'll work. And I don't really see the connection. It just seems like you're jumping to the conclusion you want. So the debate flow, Attorney, when he was asking you questions, not a lot of times, but a couple of times, I didn't get a concise answer. And I will get into that because I fucked up my question for Tim pretty hard. So, Attorney, when I asked you a question, the first answer you gave me kind of shifted the goalpost from generational wealth and just getting people that needed a home to, well, maybe they want a second home. It kind of really didn't hit for me. But then your second answer, when you let me re-clarify my question, I liked a bit more. Tim, I fucked your question up, and I wasn't getting worked up at you. I was getting worked up at me because as soon as it left my mouth and you started answering, I'm like, fuck, and I asked it the wrong way. And so I was yelling at myself there. Even if you got a 0, though, it's an average on that part, and your answer wasn't bad. You held your own, so I had to just accept the question I asked instead of the question I wanted. Attorney, I think your affirmative had 2 major claims. One, corporates are a growing threat. I never got the proof of that. I think you needed to take this ideological argument and bring some practical examples of other corporations in the past that have used their powers to take over these sectors in a nefarious way and hurt the actual consumer. And it stayed ideological. It never felt grounded to me. Whereas he didn't really address that argument as much. He went to your second argument. You're saying we need to strip people of their private property that did nothing wrong because it'll work. And I think his economic arguments almost at every single level just kind of beat you there, showing you this is more practical of a solution. This is more practical of a solution here. And we know it works, and you don't have to strip people's private property from them. So I just never got that reason for you why we need to do eminent domain is the thing. And his arguments just kept bashing you over and over. And it's a really basic, common argument. Just build more homes. So I just think you need to work on making your arguments more followable and relatable to the person with good examples, and you would have probably held your own a lot better here. Yeah,
So the final score there?
3 to 7. I'm sorry.
3-7 for the neg. All right. So once again, everybody out there in chat, I'm going to drop this link one more time for you guys. Please click that and vote. It costs you nothing. And it's especially important if the judges disagree on how they land. With that said, Indian Jesus, where did you land on this and why?
So this was actually for my first judging. I thought a good topic for me because I had my own ideas about it, but never really dug in too deeply. And so I started more personally on the side of Ruckus, and so I was looking for Know Nothing to give me reasons to doubt that. And like Tyler very eloquently said, there was the way that Ruckus draws the argument. Beautifully said. I couldn't have said it better myself. And I agree that it was a little bit kind of all over the place. I was looking to try to have a better understanding of what your entire position was, but I left with a lot more questions than answers. Whereas I understand Rux's position really well. I was gonna go 3-7, but with your closing Know Nothing, I gave you one more point, and 4-6, Ruckus takes the win.
All right. So it does sound like it's going to go to Ruckus one way or the other. Just to be clear, just like I'm not allowing the debaters or the judges to debate the debaters, I'm also not allowed to debate the judges. I'm simply going to clarify to average debate enjoyer that this would not be stripping corporations of private property since they're not people and they don't have private property. But that's neither here nor there. So
You go
it
start
looks
another
like
debate.
it looks like we do actually have a winner here.
That's
No,
pretty
nothing.
funny.
Regardless of what the judges say, that was an absolutely great job. This is only your second time doing a debate, so like I said, that cannot be overlooked. Ruckus, great fucking job. I am still going to look to the chatters and see where the audience landed on this, because even though it doesn't actually matter for the win, it does matter for the scoring, because we do keep track of this for ranking purposes so that I can make sure that I'm scheduling debates between people who are roughly skill matched.
Good game, Ruckus.
So with that
Good
said, I'm
game.
going to give it a yeah, absolutely great. So I'm going to give this just a couple seconds left. Anybody who wants to lock in that last minute vote, now would be the time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the results are in with an overwhelming win for Ruckus. That is a goddamn. That is an 8-2 victory from the chat. So 80 to 20%. So yeah, that is a unanimous decision. No, nothing. I agree with you on the prompt. I agree with you on the principle. But it looks like the judges in the audience did not feel that you brought your best game tonight. So keep sticking around, keep coming back, man. Stick around tonight if you would, because I bet you're going to do even better in the after party. You didn't get the chance to stick around for that last time, and maybe they will find that you do better whenever the clock isn't on you. So once again, great job to both of you gentlemen, and hopefully we can get into this a little deeper in the after party. All right. So our second debate of the night, everybody. This one is, I hope everybody's still here. I hope everybody's still awake. Game Boy is on the affirmative. You can't see his name because it's in the snow. So I'm going to have to actually move his name up here to the top. And you know what? Just to keep things real, I'm going to do the same
You want me
thing.
to change that real
No,
quick?
you're good. You're good. You're good. I'm going to just move Emmett's name to the top as well. All right. So the United States has lost the trust of the international community. Game Boy is on the AF. Emmett here is on the negative. We're going to put 3 minutes on the clock for you first, Game Boy. As you know, sir, I will start the clock when you start to talk. So let's hear it.
Check, check. I think I can't be heard. Okay. No one can hear me, right? Okay.
Give me a second.
I'll give you 3 of them.
So I think I'm just talking to my crowd now.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
Well, I think that went all right for a topic that I know nothing about.
1,000 thoughts. Thousands. The prompt says that America has lost the trust of the international community. This does not imply, okay, we don't have any trust. No one trusts us. We're little scaredy cats. We're not going
If
to
any
get
of my
anything.
folks want to chat, I'll
It
move
means
to the,
that just
the voice chat
purely
and
we have lost it. Our current
in the
administration has not provided any reason to maintain the current trust we've had over the past, I don't know, few decades. I mean, the international community more broadly
guess I
is
can't.
anyone that we have had alliance
I'll
or
just move to
trade
the
with,
debate
I
share
would say.
chat.
It doesn't really matter who we didn't lose trust from. I think NATO is a very important indicator of how we stand with our fellow allies. And there have been several quotes from those within NATO or those in power at NATO that strongly reflect how
Oh, whoops.
they may be wanting to take a direction further
Can't
away
do that.
from reliance
Well,
on the
no.
United States and continue to bring further independence away from U.S. dealings, viewing them as a negative force within NATO. General Richard Sheriff said the U.S. represents a greater threat to NATO than Russia, meaning that many people within NATO are more likely to collaborate with Russia or China, like Canada has done in the past, making trade agreements with China in order to, let me find the exact quote, bring on a new world order within Canada. I don't think you realize how crazy that is. We are, and to say this lightly, the police of the world, as you might want to say. But even the people who rely on us for the guns, the nuclear energy, the bam, bam, boom, boom, don't trust us anymore. They don't trust us financially economically, because France in the past year, 2 years, has pulled out gold. Oh fuck! Never mind. Never mind. That's the end of my opening.
Okay. Weird, but okay. So we're gonna go ahead and put 3 minutes on the clock, Emmett.
It's a broader idea. You don't see the vision.
No, that's fine. 3 minutes is on the clock, Emmett. Question him as you see fit, sir.
You said that that they lost trust in us, right? That they are turning to other people. How many of them are asking for China or Russia to put out the militaries in the sea so that all trade lanes, remain open?
Can you say that again? I couldn't quite understand what
have
you
you
said.
ever heard have you heard of the Canada or the EU to say, hey, Russia, could you please go up with your whole military force and be the police in the sea so that the Somali pirates will not destroy our ships?
Did you know that they have been calling on Canada into the EU, not the EU, but into Europe to provide military protection rather than the US? Would that not
Do you
be
have any
them calling
evidence
on
of
other
that?
forces?
We can call a we can call a ceasefire if you have any article of it.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Do you have a link? Yeah. Go ahead and throw it into the Discord chat, and we'll
Be
pull it up
nice.
real quick.
Do you mind if it's a YouTube video? I have like
I would rather.
others.
Yeah, I can't really pull up videos.
Yeah,
so I would rather just any
yeah, I
sort of
do
side
mine.
course.
Okay.
So
Is it from
Hold on.
Hassan? Just
Let me
asking
make
for
sure
a
this is the
friend.
right article.
Yep.
Yeah. Fuck. Okay. Let me find something else because I have one that's talking about
it's fine. Clock stopped.
that
The clock stopped. Do what you
collaboration,
gotta
but it
do.
is a. All right.
I'll tell you what is the claim, because I can look as well at the same time.
The claim is the international community is looking for either Russia or China to
Yep.
put
It was
military
specifically the
assets.
EU. The EU is doing it.
No, but he was talking about the superpowers, Russia.
I misspoke.
and
I meant
China.
Europe more broadly.
They were trying to get him. So I was asking about
More
them
specifically,
directly.
European nations within NATO are calling on Canada for military protection within their countries.
Did you have that link?
I have a YouTube video, but it's not good enough. So I'm looking for articles.
I'm looking for an
Okay.
article. I can't find anything like that.
All right.
It might have been. Well, what you're claiming is somebody said it. So if there's some people in NATO that have
I
said
don't know why
that,
I'm
then
typing
that's all we got to
in
prove. It's a
the
pretty low
Discord
bar,
when I
right?
can just talk.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay,
it would be,
so
it would be
I
a
got burned
a
last week because I
government.
didn't know
It
your
would be the
chat was being
government, wouldn't
shared
it?
across the
Like
other
it would be
chats.
a government
Oh.
official.
How did you get
Gonna
burned?
guess, and this is coming from AP
Yeah, I mean,
News. I'm
he-
gonna go ahead and bring this up onto the
He told
screen
me
right
what
now.
the debate topic
I'm
was
guessing
Wednesday
that this
night,
is what you're referencing.
and I couldn't.
So this
couldn't
article
prep
says Canada
Wednesday night.
joins EU
And
Defense
then
Fund as the country pivots away from the US.
I didn't get much opportunity last night.
Toronto has
Yes,
joined.
that's what I'm
So I
referring
got
to.
like,
Toronto
I
has
don't know,
joined a major European
4
Union
hours.
Defense Fund.
I did
Prime
an hour
Minister
of prep
Mark
last
Carney's
night,
office said Monday,
and then
as the
like
country
I
looks to
rushed 3
diversify
hours
its
of
military
prep
spending away
before
from
the
the United
debate
States.
tonight, and
Plan
it's not
allows
a topic
Canadian
I know
defense
anything
companies
about.
access to
But I
150
think I
billion
did all
euro
right.
EU loan program known as
That's
Security
like
Action for Europe, or
the
SAFE,
main
that
criticism
would
I
allow
had was
Canadians
that
Canadians
it was kind of
Canadians
scattershot, and
firms
I'm like, yeah,
to
like, I
secure
don't have
cheap
my thoughts
EU-backed loans
organized.
to
Like,
procure military
that's
equipment.
it's going to be scattershot
Canada
for
is
sure.
the first non-EU country to gain access. So, all
Yeah,
right.
that's not China.
No, it's not China, but again, he did say he
Yeah.
was talking about Canada and the EU.
I got a message
so I'm
from
assuming that is what he was
from
referring to.
Ruckus,
So
and he
I'm gonna
said
start the
that
timer. Continue
Horseradish
as you were,
definitely
gentlemen.
baited
Oh,
me
thank you
with the
very much.
constitutional
So, but
convention
you don't have
question.
anything
And
about
I think
whether
he's
them
saying
they're
that with a
trying
little
to go
insider
with,
knowledge.
China
So,
or
like I said,
Russia.
I did feel
They're-
like that
they're
was
pretty much
geared
saying,
a little
But why
toward
is
me
that
just to
important?
bait me.
If they're trying to
we want to increase-
diversify,
Yeah,
it doesn't say
and
they're like
let me finish my
North
question.
America.
Let me finish my question. The question is that you're pretty much saying that they are increasing their own military spending.
Yeah, it's an
right?
interesting group. I'm not. I got the
Excuse me?
feeling with the last
You're
debate
only
that they
saying
were
that they're
a bit
increasing their
left.
own military spending, right?
I don't know. Right of my left,
Who
for
is?
sure.
The EU, Canada. People that
I
are
don't
obliged to us,
see
in
the
a
problem
sense.
with corporations owning all the houses. I don't know.
Obliged to us,
Allied. They're in alliance.
I'm also a little surprised that I got the comment that
but
I
just because
didn't
if
demonstrate
the international
the threat,
community
that
includes
there
our
was
allies and our allies lose
any
trust in us,
demonstration that there was a growing
is that
concern,
not
given that I
us
had
losing trust?
cited that
If they want to say, hey,
Q1 of
instead of relying on the
2025,
U.S.,
Yeah.
we'll rely on Canada,
they bought
is
30%
that us
I
not
agree
of
with
houses
losing
you.
that
The
certain-
sold.
United States.
And Q2 they bought
Listen,
So
I agree
why-
with you. The United States has
That's like
lost
the whole third
all
of the
trust
fucking
in these
market, and
fucking
it's been
nations that are
growing
around us.
since
But that has
2012.
nothing to do
Whoa.
with
And
whether
then they
rely
the
on
last
us
2 years they
whoa,
built
whoa.
or not.
10% of all homes
Whoa,
that
whoa,
were
whoa, whoa,
built,
whoa! Run that back!
and
What
just
does that
to rent
mean?
them.
The U.S. has
What is-
lost the trust.
So I don't
of them.
know where
They
I
are
didn't
completely
substantiate
trustless.
that.
We don't trust them at all.
Is that not
because they
losing
have
trust for the
shown-
international community? Has they not lost trust?
No, it's the other way around. They trust us all the time. But listen, I'm gonna finish this
What do you mean by trust then?
this questioning. I'm gonna this that can be done in your cross, right? My cross is: do they still rely on us protecting the seas?
I'm not really sure what's being debated right now.
That doesn't mean we didn't lose trust. If we lost trust, it doesn't mean we
there's-
have no trust.
Why would you rely on someone you don't trust?
Hey, say I'm like a
Is
slave
the
on a
debate
like
topic posted
plantation.
somewhere?
I'm relying on my master. I don't trust him not beat my ass. I mean, like, he has the food, he has the money, he has the housing. Doesn't mean that there's other alternatives. The U.S. may be
Okay.
the only alternative, like the only option.
Yeah, because we are.
Doesn't mean we
benevolent
trust them or
masters.
not going to try to move away from
Awesome.
them.
Because we're the benevolent masters. Okay.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump in real quick. I feel like there were a couple of places where the conversation, like where I don't feel like y'all were understanding each other, but I think that that's going to get better when we get to the open part. I don't generally interfere and moderate directly unless I absolutely have to. So hopefully you guys are going to be able to connect the dots there. But we're going to go ahead and go to your opening now, Mr. Emmett. 3 minutes is on the clock, sir. Go ahead and start it up whenever you're ready.
Yeah, well, what we normally see or hear from the left communities when it comes to the trust in the United States, they virtue signal, right? Oh my
right.
God, the
I had that there
international
for a
community
reason.
has lost the trust in the United States. Meanwhile, they rely on us. They rely on us to keep the trade routes safe and open. They rely on us, to provide even for wars we disagree
Also, I
on,
basically started a
like
week-long
in
vacation
Ukraine,
today, so I
which
had
is-
to clean up
you know,
a
they
shit ton of
rely
work
on
before I
us
left,
for
and that's part of
so
what got
much
in the
at
way
the
of
end of
me
the day.
pre-
They
preparing
can
for
go
this.
on and
I was
be
telling my
all
girlfriend, I'm like,
commie
I
and
wish I
say
didn't
all they
sign up for
wanna
this debate. I
do
don't know
with
what got into me.
China, which, by the way, still relies on us. We put on the tariffs. The economy was suffering, just suffering. So it doesn't even matter because what they
By the way,
rely
PB Cups
on
in
is
YouTube
our
chat, I don't know if
military
you're
might,
still there,
and they
but
can
I'm
trust
not
that
sure
we
what you
have
were
it
referencing
because
when
we
you
can
said,
see
what
it.
does he mean maybe?
What happened to Maduro? What's happening right now in Iran, going back decades, because they just because at the end of the day, what they trust about us, what they rely on us, is force. That's the only thing they care for. Do you think they have ever been
maybe I
like,
need to
oh
turn them
yes,
down a little
the
bit.
United States, oh we love them? Of course not. Nobody does that. We're talking about fucking politicians.
There we go.
Leftists will tell you.
Put
Do
them
you
on in the
trust
background a little bit.
politicians? Oh, which one of you leftists trust the politicians? I don't think anybody.
I don't know
here
if they're
would be
taking
like,
it that
yes,
seriously, Maddie.
politicians,
I didn't hear what
they,
Game Boy
all of
said,
these
but it
wonderful
seemed like
things,
everybody
all
was a
part
little
of it,
surprised
even though
that
that's all the
he didn't
prescriptions
seem to
that they
be
have.
taking the
At the end of
debate
the day,
seriously, so I don't know if they're going to do any definitions.
One side is selling, give more to the government, and the other side is saying, I don't trust.
Were
them
my
at all
points okay,
whatsoever.
Maddie?
So
What
no,
did you think?
we
Did I do
have
okay?
all of the trust and the respect that we need from the international community. In fact, they've lost respect and trust from our side because of all the dumbassery they're doing. But at the end of the day, they still trust us because they rely on our force. And they will keep on relying on that force. With that, I will cede the rest of my time. I'm ready to go into cross.
I mean, the imminent domain-backed solution was one I came up with on my own. I think it was an all right solution.
Certain economic benefits that these nations have and that they trust the U.S. to provide.
Yes, of course. They trust us to provide the security.
I also got a little annoyed with the legal challenges thing because that's not the question.
What does that entail?
Whether they should, not whether they are currently legally allowed to. Because if we're going to do should, then they should do an amendment that would make it
the only reason
doable.
why you can even go there is because they know the military complex is there to provide safety. If you go to Africa, it's the same thing. We own the seas in a sense.
Do you think, for example, that the amount of bonds or trust we have in our treasury system is reflective
Also,
of
as
what
as
the
far as
international
the
community
problem with
feels towards our
institutional
broader,
investors, I don't think I did address that in my closing.
government or country?
I specifically said that the people who are
And I'm
going
pretty
to be
sure that
generating
most
the
of our
long-term wealth
treasury is
are the
a lot of our debt is being
investors, not the
taken by
not the
other
American
countries because
citizens.
They have to trust us.
They keep falsely
Or else,
comparing people
anyway.
to businesses and corporations. Yeah,
Because what they trust about
Well-
us is not that we are nice people. They trust about us that we have the force.
that is a little bit right-leaning. I mean, I do think Ruckus might be a
What do
little
you mean by
right-leaning.
force?
Well, I don't know if you know, but for example, we have the three major air forces in the world belong to the United States. For example, our military.
Well,
People know what our military is capable of doing.
I was glad that Horseradish
think
backed you
if,
up, Maddie.
say,
Like that
we
was
use that
specifically your
military
comment that he
for
was doing a fact
a
check
war
on.
per se, or military action that the international community does not support, that could reflect poorly on how these governments treat us. Because if we're not willing to listen to them
How
or
do I
their
who
needs, then-
care? Listen, why do I
yeah,
care?
but
if they
isn't that
disagree or
reflective
not?
of their trust? It's
they
not about like
the
the
only-
government.
I will say
Wait,
lesson
the only
learned.
thing-
If
the
I'm going to
only
do a
thing-
debate on
the
here,
only
I
thing
like,
they
well,
need to trust about
not
me
if I'm going to
is
do a
have
debate
the
on here
force.
because they
That's
send
all
out the
they
little
need to trust, and
questionnaire.
they do.
I'm
No,
not going
no,
to
no,
say
no,
that I have an
let's go to
opinion
the
on
slave
something if
master
I don't
example. If
have
I'm
a
beating
lot
your
of
ass, well, I have the force, I can
foreknowledge on the
trust that this
subject.
guy has the force, but that doesn't mean squat.
Can you do
We're-
anything
you're
about it?
it for me.
Yeah,
What?
can you do anything about
Right?
it? That's enforced. Let's say that you're my slave. If I'm
That's
gonna
specifically
there's a
how it
difference
has
between
been
trust
used, and that's the
and
biggest criticism of it.
reliance. You realize that,
No,
right?
Here I am proposing that it be used in the opposite direction. It's like, no.
No, me knowing something does not equivalent to me trusting and acting as your ally. I think that's what
you have the
trusting from
trust
the
that I
international
will
community
beat
means.
your ass if you don't do what I say.
China
Thus,
trusts
do what
we
I
have
say,
military
right?
power, but they don't trust us enough to constantly collaborate with us. That's why we've seen China slowly back out of trade with us and slowly try to form their own.
Well,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
cultural
Way
pillar
around.
to
We
some
don't trust the
extent.
Chinese. We don't trust everybody else.
I got a
We
little bit of
actually
a
don't trust
property
everybody.
property law
Like,
refresher.
you flip-flopping the
What was the
definition of
case? I've
trust.
got it here
You
somewhere.
go from
I
what we
don't
trust we
that
can
they
beat your
will act in
trust to
accordance to
My notes look like a
interests, but
crazy
they trust
person.
that we have the force,
Okay,
thus
then
they
that's what I'm
act
saying.
in accordance to
International
Oh,
my
Kilo v. New London
has lost a
in
lot of
2005,
trust,
where they
and
took her
they no
fucking
longer
house to
trust that we can
like
work in our
turn it into
interest.
property
Do
development,
you agree with
and
that?
then
The other way
that fell
around.
through.
They know what we
So they
do.
just tore down her
They
house for
keep on
nothing.
trusting us because they keep
You're
relying
flip-flopping the
on us to
definitions.
protect
You're
the
going
peace.
from
Yeah.
they
But
trust
we're
we
not
can
gonna
do
work
this.
with
Answer, Game Boy. Let him
commies
finish
because
his
we can't
answer.
trust them.
Sorry, just try not to talk over each other if you guys can avoid it, please. Nobody's gish
Yeah,
up in here, so just let him finish.
They trust us because they keep relying upon us, keeping the seas open. They keep relying upon our force so they trust that we're gonna be using it for good. Otherwise, they wouldn't be trusting it, right? But we don't trust them. They have been acting more and more radical and more dumb as time goes by. They're a bunch of commies now. Why would we trust them? It's the other way around. We don't want to deal with commies.
That is the big.
Wow, an update on my
that's like-
computer changed my automatic
Huh.
search engine to Yahoo.
Huh.
So.
Please don't
That
do
is
that.
like- So. It's one thing for the U.S. not to trust other nations to act in our interest, but the moment we talk about trust from other nations towards us, it's, well, we trust this level
Where
of
did
force,
I
and it's not
freaking-
the same definition of trust as trust that they will serve our
Search
interest
engine,
as
there
well.
we
It's not
go.
a mutual exchange. Do you think
Dude,
that
It's
like
very
there's
simple, okay? The argument is
Okay.
very simple. Do they rely on us keeping the seas open?
does
Oh.
that matter?
Of course.
How does that
they're
connect?
So you
How are they
can.
doing trade?
I forgot that was the camera I was sharing.
Yeah, but
most
they
of the trade,
rely
it's most
on
of the
us. It
world
doesn't mean
trade
that they
done
trust
through
us
the
in
sea.
other
Oh, I'm
aspects.
glad there was nothing
they
private on there.
Could find a way around that, would they trust us to work in their interest?
Why would they, right? They think the U.S. is a
Why
horrible
would they
place
trust
anyway.
us to work in our
Yeah,
interest?
this little pink house in
I've seen what they have
New
to say. Have you
what
ever
New
read about
Connecticut?
the
No,
international community
New London in
of the
Connecticut.
US?
Tore that down
That's
to make way for
one of the
corporate
companies-
property development,
international community.
and
Because we
then
got
the
something
property
about
development didn't
what we
happen, so they
have.
just tore it down for nothing.
I'm answering your question. About 10 or 15
Very
years
nice,
ago,
very
I was
nice.
I'm bilingual. I speak Spanish. I was literally told if I go to the to the EU,
All right, let's
my
fix
best
this
way
back
to
up.
be better treated was to not speak English. It was to speak Spanish because they hate Americans.
Here it was. I
So
thought I
at
was
the
in a
end of the
window
day,
where nothing was
nothing
happening.
changed. They still hate us. They rely on us anyway. Okay, all of the trade that we see in
Just
the
me
East,
still being a Luddite.
all the only reason why they do it as freely as they can is because they rely on us. They trust that we will use that force for their interest because we
Oh,
don't care
yeah.
about trade at the end of the day.
With urban renewal projects.
Tell me, how many of them have their own ships, their own military out in the sea right now, protecting all of the sea like the Americans do?
Maddie, what are they talking about?
Canada,
how
but
many of them how many of them rely on us being the deterrent so that Taiwan, that
Oh, I
is
think
the
I can figure out what they're
manufacturer,
talking about.
the greatest manufacturer of chips in the world, will keep on doing that, instead of
Have you
getting
seen the
China to
push?
invade the island.
Have you not seen the Euro Chip Act, in which they're trying to actively move away from South Korea and Taiwanese chips? They're trying to get
they're
away
trying to
from
move
us,
away,
trying to
but
make
they're
their own
still
industry, because they
perfect, but
don't
they're still
trust the
relying on us,
stability
right?
of American-supported uh, chip manufacturing.
Or maybe they
Is
just
that
want to
not-
have a chip because they know it's a good enterprise. Or maybe they
Is
just
that-
want to
Oh,
have
okay,
a
the topic
chip.
is the
it's a
United
good
States has
enterprise,
lost the
but
trust
they
of the
also know
international
they have
community.
control over it because they don't trust.
Yeah, it's a good enterprise, but they
American
also know
control
they have
over
control over it because
that form of
Yeah.
manufacturing.
Well, tell me how many of them have ships right now in the sea.
Emmett is
saying,
taking
"We
the
don't trust
negative
US
on the
military,
United States
thus
has
we
lost
need
the
to have
trust
our
of the
ships out
international
in the sea
community.
in
Good
case
God.
there's anybody doing piracy.
Pulling
We're
from
gonna
the
stop them."
treasury. Not too long ago, France pulled from the treasury $15 million. I mean, $15 billion
Who cares?
Yeah, you gotta define
calculated in gold.
trust when
Is
we
that
go
not-
into
what do
that.
you mean, who
trust it.
cares?
I don't trust the French to do anything. I don't trust the French to do anything. The first thing they do in war is surrender anyway. Okay.
Wow.
Nobody
When's
cares
the
what
last
the
time
fucking
we
French
fought
will ever do anything.
On behalf of
Wow.
the Europeans?
I don't care about the Europeans. The reason why I don't care about the Europeans is because
When's the
they're
last
acting
time
like
we fought
commies.
on behalf
Their
of
economy,
Africa?
their economy is
When's the last time
stagnant.
we fought on behalf of Latin America? When's the last time
Bisky,
we fought
why
on
does
behalf
Emmett
of
hate
anyone
everyone?
outside of ours,
No, yeah,
our
no,
self-interest?
never. I don't want ever to fight on behalf
The
of
trust,
people.
quote
Okay?
unquote,
We do
is
it on
behind
behalf
it.
of American interests.
Is that trust at
God
all?
only
forbid
reason
we
why-
eminent domain to curtail a scum-sucking industry that's basically corporate
Sorry, I was
vulturing
talking over
housing.
you.
Yeah,
Do you-
I mean,
Do you
seriously.
want the United States to be the world police and doing on behalf of other people? Or do you want the United States to be doing things on behalf of its own interests?
What does the international, like, how does that possibly, like, if
And
we're
what's fun
talking
is I wasn't
about
even like
the prompt,
talking like
sorry.
straight up
like,
immediate
the
eminent
problem is the
domain,
international community
imminent
has
domain.
lost, trust on the United
Like
States.
it's not even
They
a like
rely
a
on
like
us
a
and trust us
unfair.
to
I'm
rely
sorry, we're
over
taking
it
this from you
honestly.
type thing.
None
It's
of
like
them have
just
done any
fucking
major
sell it,
movements
or we're gonna buy
in
it.
the United States. We don't want you to do that anymore. We don't trust you, thus we're gonna close it and we're gonna do it
You
ourselves.
literally
In fact,
said earlier they're constantly
keep
doing
on
stuff to
relying on
avoid
us.
the United States because they're a whole bunch of commies. Is that not
they're a
them
bunch
being
of
like,
commies.
we're trying to avoid the United States, but we're relying upon them, so
No.
we're taking small motions?
We want to avoid them now because they're acting like commies and we cannot rely on anything they say.
We're
Because
trying to
they
Wholly
avoid
disrupting
them.
local
we're
politics and
your
taxations. Yeah.
allies,
Oh,
we're
they called
allies,
that
but in
out. Like
reality,
it's
they act
supposed to
like
be
they're not.
now.
Thus,
And I
we
was like,
will
the
lost-
prompt didn't say it had to
we
be
have
immediate.
lost based on them, but they still rely on us. They still trust that we're gonna keep the trade open.
I mean,
still
it's
use our
unrealistic to think that
currency
my
for
proposal doesn't have
international
eminent domain
trading.
happening.
They keep on doing that. Where do you think they
It would
get
eminent
most of the-
domain
most of the
like
military
properties that
and
they have
most of
already held for too
NATO.
long.
Where do you think NATO gets most of the funding? The United States. They rely
Yeah, I
on
know
us,
they are very
keep
unserious.
trusting us, they keep relying on us.
I feel like this is a really weird gear shift from my debate
It
to
is
this debate.
trust to you just the like assurance of something that's a constant, rather than
Yeah, of
we're gonna
course.
continue to try to rely on you.
But let me put it this way: when you get married, do you trust your partner that will be there?
What?
Yeah, but I also have a different definition of trust apparently in a relationship.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
if
Also
my
trust
spouse
my
started
partner,
threatening
like,
to
if I
slap
want them
me
to do
or
something,
to
they would
take my
also do it.
things, I would no longer
They're gonna
trust
work in my
that
interest,
spouse.
work
Yeah,
in
we
theirs.
keep-
I don't
we keep the-
I
we
don't
keep the loop,
automatically
you know?
trust
We
my
still keep
spouse. I mean,
all
that's a
trade routes
given.
open,
Is that
they
a
come
bare
to us,
minimum?
and we keep
Does
on
that not
doing
mean
it.
that we've
Nobody's
lost
ever
trust
given
in
me a good
something
answer when
very
all these corporations are on the hook for when
It's very
these houses
simple.
all need new
They
roofs and
complain,
sewers in the
like,
next
cry
5 to 10
baby for all
years?
the tariffs. They done the tariffs to us all this time, right? Why would they complain about what the fuck they're doing?
Trust my wife, but verify.
So it's not about them losing trust in us. They know that we're gonna keep on working to have good trade, to be humanitarian, to keep on doing what we've been doing for the past 60 years. They have changed the way they do stuff. They are the ones who are becoming more and more communist. They're the ones moving away. We have lost trust in them. They still trust us. They still rely on us. We keep on doing the same thing.
Can I pause and ask you a question? Like, just an honest
Yeah,
question.
ask me a question.
What do you mean they became more communist? Like, what do you mean by became
Echoplex is in the chat.
became communist?
Yeah, they
Dave.
become more and more reliant on Marxist socialist systems.
Like how?
Do you know what communism and socialism is?
No, but how are they doing it?
Do you know what communism
No,
and
I'm asking
socialism
you a
is?
question. I need a clarifying. Do you know
What?
what communism
I'm
and
saying
socialism
yes.
is?
I understand it. I'm just trying to see the
Okay.
correlation here. How's French communist? Germany, huge communist over there?
Well, yes, of course. What they've been doing is they've been putting more and more socialist systems in the government. They've been adding more and more regulations into it. They've been moving more and more towards these totalitarian ideas of regime, and they've been doing it through welfare systems. If you read any of the Lenin writings, when he was talking about the future, he said that probably in the future there were not going to be any violent revolutions. What they were going to happen is they're going to have a socialist regime, and they're going to be little by little increasing the amount of things that
You
the
can't
government is
trust
gonna
your
do for
partner, then
you
how
until
can
the
you trust
government is
Canada?
the only thing. And that's what we've seen especially in Europe.
So I'm
So
going to put
if
5
you go
minutes
to
on the clock,
Europe,
but I do real quick. I just want to say I'm putting 5 minutes.
What's
on the
up,
clock.
Lore?
Please try to tie this back to the prompt as soon as possible. Though. Go ahead.
You need the
so
box
if you go
fan?
to Europe, and you see
The
what they've
box
been doing when
fan
it comes to the
downstairs is your
whole,
box fan, but there's
the whole
also
economy,
there's
they
one
literally
one in the
have
office
become more
closet
and more reliant upon socialist
by the
ideas.
TV.
But the fun part about all of that is that none of it correlates to military power because they rely on the United States. And
Bye.
they keep on relying on the
Love
United
you.
States, so they trust us. Otherwise, they would be increasing the amount of military that they have, and they will be doing against us, right? They will be moving to the seas. They would stop having this kind of open lanes because they wouldn't trust us anymore. But they don't.
Do you think the EU is taking no steps to form their own military separate of say NATO, which you said, America owned?
No, they don't, and you can see it because the whole of the military spending and a lot of the military things that they've
What
done
about
has gone
PESCO?
through Ukraine anyway. So they cannot even rely on the superpowers that you mentioned, right? Because Russia, China, all of them are allied. So who are they going to rely on? Are they going to do it on their own? But in reality, most of their spending is going to Ukraine anyway. On a war that they're losing.
What about the EU forming PESCO? Do you think that was just nothing?
Yeah, I think what they're doing is absolutely nothing.
So like that's not even like them taking steps to like move away from America. That's just a big nothing burger.
Yeah, it's a big nothing burger because they don't even have the economy in order to be able to use it. Their economy has been stagnant. The
So
reason
if
though
you
it's
can
stagnant is
do
because they
nothing,
take all of the not the way
like
that they're
they
doing
can,
it. The way that they're doing it is they're virtue signaling. Virtue signal means nothing. What
but
have they
if they
done?
can,
Tell me of a thing they've done that has actual teeth that they say, oh, this is what they're doing. Have they increased their militaries like per capita?
yes.
How much?
I don't know an exact number, but they definitely have. They formed an entire organization for that purpose and that purpose alone.
Yeah,
They're
I
trying
know
to.
commies love
They're
to
just
to do
not a
organizations
global
that mean
superpower yet.
absolutely nothing. This is what I said per capita. How much have their military has increased? How many boats have
Okay.
they put in the sea?
Hold on, let me look it up.
Hmm.
I'll go ahead and stop the timer while you do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh. Okay. You can go back up.
All right, continue. What's the answer?
Over the past 10 years, it's increased by 80% per capita military spending in the EU on average, and
Not
150%
spending
in
the number
uh
of the number of
investment in
people. We don't
intensity.
know. Yeah, but
That's
it's
the
like
piece that came up.
0, and they added a little bit because the how much of that is because Trump literally told them that they had to now spend money on the military in
Oh,
NATO.
so like if they're okay, that's the EU.
It's
That's
like
not NATO.
10,000. The EU does the EU apports to NATO military spending?
Excuse me. What was that
Does
word?
the yeah does the EU or the European countries spend money on NATO?
If the US is doing it, like you said, like what are you trying to get at
So
with that point?
so
Because
they trust us, right? At the end of the day, they have,
they have
especially the past
they
decades, they just trust us. All they
it
do is
rose by
trust us,
55
and they keep on trusting
it
us.
rose by 500 billion in 2025 alone.
Yeah, from
So they have.
500 billion from how
If
much?
they're trying to move away from the US, why would they invest in NATO and not the EU?
They invest in NATO, or this is what I'm asking
No,
you.
no, that's not
This is
my
the problem that I
question.
have with your
My
numbers.
question.
Well, how much it was before?
Let,
Because there was a
let me
moment in
let
time
me
before
rephrase the question. Let me rephrase the question. If they're
before
trying to
Trump.
split, if
Bef-
they're trying to split away from America, why would they invest in
Mhm.
NATO and not the EU?
If they're trying to, if they're trying
If
to
they're trying, like you said, if they're
split,
trying to like get their own military worth, why would they invest in
uh-huh.
NATO, which majority spender will always be the US?
Hmm.
Why don't they invest in EU as a separate entity?
Do they? Because I don't think they do. That's the point.
It was a question, yes or like what is it? What is it? It's not like questioning the question. Why wouldn't they?
I don't understand your question. You're saying, hey, these
Jesus
people that
Christ.
are allied, and if every time you spend on your
Jeez.
military, it's like you're spending in NATO because they are allied. It's like I don't understand. If they
Time.
what do you mean by that? Can you clarify your question?
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm going to go ahead and jump in there just because I'm a little bit confused. I think the judges are both confused. I know the chat is confused. So I think we all kind of lost the thread a little bit there. So we're just going to go ahead and move straight into the questions section. And I think that's going to be okay. Now, for what it's worth, we do have a few questions from chat, which I'm pretty sure I know who they're directed at. So I'm going to judge them, or I'm going to direct them accordingly. And I'm actually going to use them as my questions instead. So with that said, my first question is going to be to Game Boy. So the prompt says the United States has lost the trust of the international community. You agree with that statement? The question from the chatter, anonymous, is do they still trust us to provide life saving medications and aid? I'm going to put 1 minute on the clock for you to think about that. Go ahead and answer it as you're ready. Does
Yeah.
the international community still trust us when it comes to aid and medication assistance?
Yeah. I think we've lost trust in a litany of other ways, but I think that there are certain parts, like my opponent was saying, that military aid and trade assistance are still a thing. Just because we lost trust doesn't mean we've lost all trust, which is what I tried to get out a few times and then got told, no, you don't understand. They trust us to do this, even though we
Gotcha.
really have no say.
All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and ask the other real quick question. This one is going to go to both of the two debaters. This one is also from the chatters. It's kind of a meme question,
I've
but I also
returned.
think that it's a valid question. So, who has influenced our trust in the international community, and why is your answer Israel? So, the
Is
meme
that for me?
aside, it's for both of you. Who do you think what nation has had the biggest impact on the trust within the international community?
Oy vey. I don't think I should answer that. No, I don't know. Probably the US. I like
You
doing
think the
its own
U.S.'s
thing.
actions specifically are the ones that have influenced the trust of the international community?
I would
I
say it's
think
the Mexican.
and
I would say the Mexicans are the ones that have done it the most,
it
especially when it comes to we need a wall that it needs to be 10 foot higher every 10 days, because those guys will not stop, when
What the
acting for
fuck?
the
dude,
U.S.
it's LeBron,
This,
bro. It's
this guy's
LeBron.
crazy.
All right.
If we're just
All right.
saying
Good
stuff,
stuff.
it's LeBron.
Yep, sure. We're just saying stuff. All right, cool. So now going to go to the judges. Tyler, you're up first, sir. 1 minute's on the clock for you. Please hit Game Boy with a question.
First of all, disavow all the Israel stuff you guys said.
I
Dude,
didn't
me
say
Question for
too.
anything. The
Game Boy.
chat
Disavow.
did.
Yeah, you guys, all of you are one to me. Like, so anyway, so when
We'll
Trump
discuss that later.
When Trump went to the EU in 2017, he pointed out that buying Russian energy was undermining efforts into NATO, and he was mocked. They actually physically laughed at him in person. Turns out when Ukraine was invaded, the EU had to scramble to get off their energy and came back to the US to start buying these exports. Now we see we supplanted Russia as their majority energy sale importer, and it's a long-term deal. Doesn't this massive economic investment coupled with the United States signify that not only do they trust us more than another geopolitical power, but that
What should I play
willing to
while
be with
they're
us long term?
doing their stuff?
I think
Did you follow that? All right,
there's
good. Go
more
ahead.
there's more layers to that than on the surface, because I think they were desperately looking for Ukraine as a potential future ally. And so with Russia trying to invade Ukraine, however you want to interpret that, it did compromise a broader goal of that uh, NATO exercise, I guess. And so I think America being someone that could provide that wealth and supplement the Russian economy was what led to them being trusted more. But I think if that conflict never happened, we would have never seen that jump to the American uh, oil system. And I think even to an extent, over the past few years, we've seen that slowly and slowly, we've seen Russian oil coming back into the global economy somehow, some way, even with the tariffs.
Right. Now we're going to go over to you, Jesus. Whenever you're ready, sir.
Not
Please
tariffs.
hit Game
Sorry,
Boy with a
sorry.
question.
Sorry, trust versus the trust? What? Huh? Yeah, Maddie called it out. Yep, yep. Like, what was the point of all of this when they didn't agree on the definition? I did appreciate their, like, early on in the debate, somebody said, "No, nothing attorney's cooking." Not gonna lie. Whether you care what they have to say is totally different from whether they trust us. What the fuck? What is this guy arguing? Relying on somebody is not the same as trusting them. This is insane. That's what the other nation said. They said they're going to create a new world order. So do they trust us or not? I'm so confused by this guy's argument. What? Those aren't the same thing. They trust on us. They trust us because they're dumb. Well, that's just rude. I will forever be a rude person. Okay. Hi, Raleigh. I mean, Laura. You bored out there? What's up? Huh?
I just been with in the same general vicinity as you. Also, I started falling asleep.
Oh.
Give me a mirror. Yeah, for bedtime. Okay, good night, Ollie. Yeah, bedtime.
You're doing bedtime? Okay. Yeah, you know what? I'll just call it a night. All right. Oh, what's up, Light Spectre? It went okay for a topic that I don't really know anything about and had less than 2 days to prep. But I think it went okay. I got some critiques from the judges that I didn't think really made a lot of sense. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to take off for the night. Maddie, if you're still here, thank you for being here. I did have a good time, Light Spectre. It was a fun debate, and I felt like I had a fun point. All right, Maddie, have a good night. Got too much going on my end of things. All right, good night, y'all.